Consciousness knows no frontier. No one can stop you from dwelling psychologically at any point or in any state in time or space. Regardless of the physical barriers separating you from your objective, you can, without effort or help of anyone, annihilate time, space, and barriers. Thus, you can dwell psychologically in the desired state. So, although you may not be able to tread physically upon a state or city, you can always tread psychologically upon any desired state. By treading psychologically, I mean that you can now, this moment, close your eyes and after visualizing or imagining a place or state other than your present one, actually feel that you are now in such a place or state. You can feel this condition to be so real that upon opening your eyes, you are amazed to find that you are not physically there. A harlot, as you know, gives to all men that which they ask of her. Rahab, the harlot, symbolizes your infinite capacity to psychologically assume any desirable state without questioning whether or not you are physically or morally fit to do so. You can today capture the modern city of Jericho, or your defined objective, if you will psychologically reenact the story of Joshua. But to capture the city and realize your desires, you must carefully follow the formula of victory as laid down in this book of Joshua. This is the application of this victorious formula as a modern mystic reveals it today. First, define your objective, not the manner of obtaining it, but your objective, pure and simple. Know exactly what it is you desire so that you have a clear mental picture of it. Secondly, take your attention away from the obstacles which separate you from your objective and place your thought on the objective itself. Thirdly, close your eyes and feel that you are already in the city or state that you would capture. Remain within this psychological state until you get a conscious reaction of complete satisfaction in this victory. Then, by simply opening your eyes, return to your former conscious state. This secret journey into the desired state, with its subsequent psychological reaction of complete satisfaction, is all that is necessary to bring about total victory. This victorious psychical state will embody itself despite all opposition. It has the plan and power of self-expression. From this point forward follow the example of Joshua, who, after psychologically dwelling in the desired state until he received a complete conscious reaction of victory, did nothing more to bring about this victory than to blow 7 times on his trumpet. The 7th blast symbolizes the 7th day, a time of stillness or rest, the interval between the subjective and objective states, a period of pregnancy or joyful expectancy. This stillness is not the stillness of the body, but rather the stillness of the mind. A perfect passivity, which is not indolence, but a living stillness born of trust in this immutable law of consciousness. Those not familiar with this law or formula for victory in attempting to still their minds succeed only in acquiring a quiet tension, which is nothing more than compressed anxiety. But you, who know this law, will find that after capturing the psychological state, which would be yours if you were already victoriously and actually entrenched in that city, will move forward towards the physical realization of your desire. You will do this without doubt or fear, in a state of mind fixed in the knowledge of a prearranged victory. You will not be afraid of the enemy because the outcome has been determined by the psychological state. that preceded the physical offensive. And all the forces of heaven and earth cannot stop the victorious fulfillment of that state. Stand still in the psychological state defined as your objective until you feel the thrill of victory. Then, with confidence born of the knowledge of this law, watch the physical realization of your objective. Let yourself stand still and watch the salvation of the law with you. That which you are conscious of being is the temporal body that you wear. To turn your attention from that which you are aware of being is to decapitate that body. But just as a chicken or snake continues to jump and throb for a while after its head has been removed, likewise, qualities and conditions appear to live for a while after your attention has been taken from them. Man, not knowing this law of consciousness, constantly gives thought to his previous habitual conditions and, through being attentive to them, places upon these dead bodies the eternal head of creation. Thereby he reanimates and resurrects them. You must leave these dead bodies alone and let the dead bury the dead. Man having put his hand to the plow. That is, after assuming the consciousness of the quality desired. By looking back can only defeat his fitness for the kingdom of heaven. As the will of heaven is ever done on earth, you are today in the heaven that you have established within yourself. For here on this very earth, your heaven reveals itself. The kingdom of heaven really is at hand. Now is the accepted time. So create a new heaven, enter into a new state of consciousness, and a new earth will appear. Fishing. They went forth and entered into a ship. And that night they caught nothing. And he said unto them, cast the net on the right side of the ship, and ye shall find. They cast therefore, and now they were not able to draw it, for the multitude of the fishes. It is recorded that the disciples fished all night and caught nothing. Then Jesus appeared upon the scene and told them to cast their nets again, but this time to cast them on the right side. Peter obeyed the voice of Jesus and cast his nets once more into the water, where but a moment before the water was completely empty of fish. The nets almost broke with the number of the resulting catch. Man, fishing all through the night of human ignorance, attempts to realize his desires through effort and struggle, only to find in the end that his search is fruitless. When man discovers his awareness of being to be Christ Jesus, he will obey its voice and let it direct his fishing. He will cast his hook on the right side. He will apply the law in the right manner and will seek in consciousness for the thing desired. Finding it there, he will know that it will be multiplied in the worlds of form. Those who have had the pleasure of fishing know what a thrill it is to feel the fish upon the hook. The bite of the fish is followed by the play of the fish. This play, in turn, is followed by the landing of the fish. Something similar takes place in the consciousness of man as he fishes for the manifestations of light. Fishermen know that if they wish to catch big fish, they must fish in deep waters. If you would catch a large measure of light, you must leave behind you the shallow waters with its many reefs and barriers and launch out into the deep blue waters where the big ones play. To catch the large manifestations of light, you must enter into deeper and freer states of consciousness. Only in these depths do the big expressions of life live. Here is a simple formula for successful fishing. First, decide what it is you want to express or possess. This is essential. You must definitely know what you want of life before you can fish for it. After your decision is made, turn from the world of sense. Remove your attention from the problem and place it on just being by repeating quietly, but with feeling, I am. As your attention is removed from the world round about you and placed upon the I am, so that you are lost in the feeling of simply being, you will find yourself slipping the anchor that tied you to the shallows of your problem. And effortlessly, you will find yourself moving out into the deep. The sensation which accompanies this act is one of expansion. You will feel yourself rise and expand as though you were actually growing. Do not be afraid of this floating, growing experience, for you are not going to die to anything but your limitations. However, your limitations are going to die as you move away from them, for they live only in your consciousness. In this deep or expanded consciousness, you will feel yourself to be a mighty pulsating power, as deep and as rhythmical as the ocean. This expanded feeling is the signal that you are now in the deep blue waters where the big fish swim. Suppose the fish you decided to catch were health and freedom. You begin to fish in this formless, pulsating depth of yourself for these qualities or states of consciousness by feeling I am healthy, I am free. You continue claiming and feeling yourself to be healthy and free until the conviction that you are so possesses you. As the conviction is born within you, so that all doubts pass away and you know and feel that you are free from the limitations of the past, you will know that you have hooked these fish. The joy which courses through your entire being on feeling that you are that which you desire to be is equal to the thrill of the fisherman as he hooks his fish. Now comes the play of the fish. This is accomplished by returning to the world of the senses. As you open your eyes on the world round about you, the conviction and the consciousness that you are healthy and free should be so established within you that your whole being thrills in anticipation. Then, as you walk through the necessary interval of time that it will take the things felt to embody themselves, you will feel a secret thrill in knowing that in a little while that which no man sees, but that which you feel and know that you are, will be landed. In a moment when you think not, while you faithfully walk in this consciousness, you will begin to express and possess that which you are conscious of being and possessing. Experiencing with the fisherman the joy of landing the big one. Now go and fish for the manifestations of life by casting your net in the right side. Be is that hears. Let these sayings sink down into your ears. For the Son of Man shall be delivered into the hands of men. Let these sayings sink down into your ears. For the Son of Man shall be delivered into the hands of men. Be not as those who have eyes that see not and ears that hear not. Let these revelations sink deep into your ears. For after the Son idea is conceived man with his false value. Attempt to explain the why and wherefore of the Son's expression, and in so doing will rend him to pieces. After men have agreed that a certain thing is humanly impossible and therefore cannot be done, let someone accomplish the impossible thing. The wise ones who said it could not be done will begin to tell you why and how it happened, after they are all through tearing the seamless robe clothes of manifestation. Apart, they will be as far from the truth as they were when they proclaimed it impossible. As long as man looks for the cause of expression in places other than the expressor, he looks in vain. For thousands of years man has been told, I am the resurrection and the life. No manifestation cometh unto me, save I draw it. But man will not believe it. He prefers to believe in causes outside of himself. The moment that which was not seen becomes seen, man is ready to explain the cause and purpose of its appearance. Thus, the Son of Man, idea desiring manifestation, is constantly being destroyed at the hands, reasonable explanation or wisdom, of man. Now that your awareness is revealed to you as cause of all expression, do not return to the darkness of Egypt with its many gods. There is but one God. The one and only God is your awareness. And all the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing. And he doeth according to his will in the army of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth, and none can stay his hand or say unto him, what dost thou? If the whole world should agree that a certain thing could not be expressed, and yet you became aware of being that which they had agreed could not be expressed, you would express it. Your awareness never asked permission to express that which you are aware of being. It does so naturally and without effort, in spite of the wisdom of man and all opposition. Salute no man, by the way. This is not a command to be insolent or unfriendly, but a reminder not to recognize a superior, not to see in anyone a barrier to your expression. None can stay your hand or question your ability to express that which you are conscious of being. Do not judge after the appearances of a thing, for all are as nothing in the eyes of God. When the disciples, through their judgment of appearances, saw the insane child, they thought it a more difficult problem to solve than others they had seen. And so they failed to achieve a cure. In judging after appearances, they forgot that all things were possible to God. Hypnotized as they were by the reality of appearances, they could not feel the naturalness of sanity. The only way for you to avoid such failures is to constantly bear in mind that your awareness is the Almighty, the all-wise presence. Without help, this unknown presence within you effortlessly outpictures that which you are aware of being. Be perfectly indifferent to the evidence of the senses so that you may feel the naturalness of your desire, and your desire will be realized. Turn from appearances and feel the naturalness of that perfect perception within yourself, a quality never to be distrusted or doubted. Its understanding will never lead you astray. Your desire is the solution of your problem. As the desire is realized, the problem is dissolved. You cannot force anything outwardly by the mightiest effort of the will. There is only one way you can command the things you want, and that is by assuming the consciousness of the things desired. There is a vast difference between feeling a thing and merely knowing it intellectually. You must accept without reservation the fact that by possessing, feeling, a thing in consciousness, you have commanded the reality that causes it to come into existence in concrete form. You must be absolutely convinced of an unbroken connection between the invisible reality and its visible manifestation. Your inner acceptance must become an intense, unalterable conviction, which transcends both reason and intellect, renouncing entirely any belief in the reality of the externalization, except as a reflection of an inner state of consciousness. When you really understand and believe these things, you will have built up so profound a certainty that nothing can shake you. Your desires are the invisible realities which respond only to the command of God. God commands the invisible to appear by claiming himself to be the thing commanded. He made himself equal with God and found it not robbery to do the works of God. Now let this saying sink deep in your ear. Be conscious of being that which you want to appear. Clairvoyance. Having eyes, see ye not, and having ears, hear ye not. Do ye not remember? True clairvoyance rests not in your ability to see things beyond the range of human vision, but rather in your ability to understand that which you see. A financial statement can be seen by anyone, but very few can read a financial statement. The capacity to interpret the statement is the mark of clear seeing or clairvoyance. That every object, both animate and inanimate, is enveloped in a liquid light, which moves and pulsates with an energy far more radiant than the objects themselves. No one knows better than the author. But he also knows that the ability to see such auras is not equal to the ability to understand that which one sees in the world around about him. To illustrate this point, here is a story with which the whole world is familiar. Yet only the true mystic or clairvoyant has ever really seen it. The story of Dumas, Count of Monte Cristo, is, to the mystic and true clairvoyant, the biography of every man. Edmond Dante, a young sailor, finds the captain of his ship dead. Taking command of the ship in the midst of a storm, swept sea, he attempts to steer the ship into a safe anchorage. On Dante is a secret document which must be given to a man he does not know, but who will make himself known to the young sailor in due time. This document is a plan to set the Emperor Napoleon free from his prison on the Isle of Elba. As Dante reaches port, 3 men, who by their flattery and praise have succeeded in worming their way into the good graces of the present king, fearing any change that would alter their positions in the government, have the young mariner arrested and committed to the catacombs. Here in this tomb, Dante is forgotten and left to rot. Many years pass. Then one day Dante, who is by this time a living skeleton, hears a knock on his wall. Answering this knock, he hears the voice of one on the other side of the stone. In response to this voice, Dante removes the stone and discovers an old priest who has been in prison so long that no one knows the reason for his imprisonment or the length of time he has been there. Life itself is a storm-swept sea with which man wrestles as he tries to steer himself into a haven of rest. Within every man is the secret plan that will set free the mighty emperor within himself. Man, in his attempt to find security in this world, is misled by the false light of greed, vanity, and power. Most men believe that fame, great wealth, or political power would secure them against the storms of life. So they seek to acquire these as the anchors of their life, only to find that in their search for these, they gradually lose the knowledge of their true being. If man places his faith in things other than himself, that in which his faith is placed will in time destroy him, at which time he will be as one imprisoned in confusion and despair. Here, behind these walls of mental darkness, man remains in what appears to be a living death. After years of disappointment, man turns from these false friends, and he discovers within himself the ancient one, his awareness of being, who has been buried since the day he first believed himself to be man and forgot that he was God. The old priest had spent many years digging his way out of this living tomb, only to discover that he had dug his way into Dante's tomb. He then resigns himself to his fate and decides to find his joy and freedom by instructing Dante in all that he knows concerning the mysteries of life, and to aid him to escape as well. Dante at first is impatient to acquire all this information, but the old priest, with infinite patience garnered through his long imprisonment, shows Dante how unfit he is to receive this knowledge in his present, unprepared, anxious mind. So with philosophic calm, he slowly reveals to the young man the mysteries of life and time. As Dante ripens under the old priest's instruction, the old man finds himself living more and more in the consciousness of Dante. Finally, he imparts his last bit of wisdom to Dante, making him competent to handle positions of trust. He then tells him of an inexhaustible treasure buried on the Isle of Monte Cristo. At this revelation, the walls of the catacomb, which separated them from the ocean above, cave in, crushing the old man to death. The god is covering the accident, sew the old priest's body into a sack and prepare to cast it out to sea. As they leave to get a stretcher, Dante removes the body of the old priest and sews himself into the bag. The god, unaware of this change of bodies and believing him to be the old man, throw Dante into the water. This revelation is so wonderful that when man first hears it, he wants to acquire it all at once. But he finds that after numberless years spent in the belief of being man, he has so completely forgotten his true identity that he is now incapable of absorbing this memory all at once. He also discovers that he can do so only in proportion to his letting go of all human values and opinions. As man drops these cherished human values, he absorbs more and more of the light, the old priest, until finally he becomes the light and knows himself to be the ancient one. I am the light of the world. The flowing of both blood and water in the death of the old priest is comparable to the flow of blood and water from the side of Jesus as the Roman soldiers pierced him. The phenomenon which always takes place at birth is symbolizing the birth of a higher consciousness. Dante frees himself from the sack, goes to the Isle of Monte Cristo, and discovers the buried treasure. Then, armed with this fabulous wealth and this superhuman wisdom, he discards his human identity of Edmond Dantes and assumes the title of the Count of Monte Cristo. Man discovers his awareness of being to be the inexhaustible treasure of the universe. In that day when man makes this discovery, he dies as man and awakes as God. Yes, Edmond Dantes becomes the Count of Monte Cristo. Man becomes Christ. 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. My awareness is my Lord and shepherd. That which I am aware of being is the sheep that follow me. So good a shepherd is my awareness of being. It has never lost one sheep or thing that I am aware of being. My consciousness is a voice calling in the wilderness of human confusion, calling all that I am conscious of being to follow me. So do my sheep know My voice that never failed to respond to my call. Nor will there come a time when that which I am convinced that I am will fail to find me. I am an open door for all that I am to enter. My awareness of being is Lord and shepherd of my life. Now I know I shall never be in need of proof or lack the evidence of that which I am aware of being. Knowing this, I shall become aware of being great, loving, wealthy, healthy, and all other attributes that I admire. My awareness of being magnifies all that I'm aware of being. So there is ever an abundance of that which I am conscious of being. It makes no difference what it is that man is conscious of being. He will find it eternally springing in his world. The Lord's measure, man's conception of himself, is always pressed down, shaken together, and running over. There is no need to fight for that which I am conscious of being, for all that I am conscious of being shall be led to me as effortlessly as a shepherd leads his flock to the still waters of a quiet spring. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemy. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Now that my memory is restored, so that I know I am the Lord, and beside me there is no God. My kingdom is restored. My kingdom, which became dismembered in the day that I believed in powers apart from myself, is now fully restored. Now that I know my awareness of being is God, I shall make the right use of this knowledge by becoming aware of being that which I desire to be. Yes, though I walk through all the confusion and changing opinions of men, I will fear no evil. For I have found consciousness to be that which makes the confusion. Having in my own case restored it to its rightful place and dignity, I shall, in spite of the confusion, outpicture that which I am now conscious of being. And the very confusion will echo and reflect my own dignity. In the face of seeming opposition and conflict, I shall succeed. For I will continue to outpicture the abundance that I am now conscious of being. My head consciousness will continue to overflow with the joy of being God, because I am now conscious of being good and merciful. Signs of goodness and mercy are compelled to follow me all the days of my life, for I will continue to dwell in the house or consciousness of being God, good forever. Gethsemane. Then cometh Jesus with them unto a place called Gethsemane, and says unto the disciples, Sit ye here while I go and pray yonder. A most wonderful mystical romance is told in the story of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. But man has failed to see the light of its symbology, and has mistakenly interpreted this mystical union as an agonizing experience in which Jesus pleaded in vain with his Father to change his destiny. Gethsemane is to the mystic the garden of creation, the place in consciousness where man goes to realize his defined objectives. Gethsemane is a compound word meaning to press out an oily substance. Geth, to press out, and Shimon, an oily substance. The story of Gethsemane reveals to the mystic in dramatic symbology the act of creation. Just as man contains within himself an oily substance which, in the act of creation, is pressed out into a likeness of himself, so he has within himself a divine principle, his consciousness, which conditions itself as a state of consciousness, and without assistance presses out or objectifies itself. A garden is a cultivated piece of ground, a specially prepared field, where seeds of the gardener's own choice are planted and cultivated. Gethsemane is such a garden, the place in consciousness where the mystic goes with his properly defined objective. This garden is entered when man takes his attention from the world round about him and places it on his objective. Man's clarified desires are seeds containing the power and plans of self-expression. And like the seeds within man, these too are buried within an oily substance, a joyful, thankful attitude of mind. As man contemplates being and possessing that which he desires to be and to possess, he has begun the process of pressing out all the spiritual act of creation. These seeds are pressed out and planted when man loses himself in a wild, mad state of joy, consciously feeling and claiming himself to be that which he formerly desired to be. Desires expressed or pressed out result in the passing of that particular desire. Man cannot possess a thing and still desire to possess it at one and the same time. So as one consciously appropriates the feeling of being the thing desired, this desire to be the thing passes. It is realized that the receptive attitude of mind, feeling and receiving the impression of being the thing desired, is the fertile ground or womb which receives the seed. The seed which is pressed out of a man grows into the likeness of the man from whom it was pressed. Likewise, the mystical seed, your conscious claim that you are that which you heretofore desired to be, will grow into the likeness of you, from whom and into whom it is pressed. Yes, Gethsemane is the cultivated garden of romance, where the disciplined man goes to press seeds of joy, define desires out of himself into his receptive attitude of mind, there to care for and nurture them by consciously walking in the joy of being all that formerly he desired to be. Feel with the great gardener the secret thrill of knowing that things and qualities not now seen will be seen as soon as these conscious impressions grow and ripen to maturity. Your consciousness is Lord and husband. The conscious state in which you dwell is wife or beloved. This state made visible is your son bearing witness of you, his father and mother, for your visible world is made in the image and likeness of the state of consciousness in which you live. Your world and the fullness thereof are nothing more or less than your defined consciousness objectified. Knowing this to be true, see to it that you choose well the mother of your children, that conscious state in which you live, your conception of yourself. The wise man chooses his wife with great discretion. He realizes that his children must inherit the qualities of their parents, and so he devotes much time and care to the selection of their mother. The mystic knows that the conscious state in which he lives is the choice that he has made of a wife, the mother of his children, that this state must in time embody itself within his world. So he is ever select in his choice and always claims himself to be his highest ideal. He consciously defines himself as that which he desires to be. When man realizes that the conscious state in which he lives is the choice that he has made of a mate, he will be more careful of his moods and feelings, He will not permit himself to react to suggestions of fear, lack, or any undesirable impression. Such suggestions of lack could never pass the watch of the disciplined mind of the mystic, for he knows that every conscious claim must in time be expressed as a condition of his world, of his environment. So he remains faithful to his beloved, his defined objective, by defining and claiming and feeling himself to be that which he desires to express. Let a man ask himself if his defined objective would be a thing of joy and beauty if it were realized. If his answer is in the affirmative, then he may know that his choice of a bride is a princess of Israel, a daughter of Judah. For every defined objective which expresses joy when realized is a daughter of Judah, the King of praise. Jesus took with him into his hour of prayer his disciples, or disciplined attributes of mind, and commanded them to watch while he prayed, so that no thought or belief that would deny the realization of his desire might enter his consciousness. Follow the example of Jesus, who with his desires clearly defined entered the garden of Gethsemane, the state of joy, accompanied by his disciples, his disciplined mind, to lose himself in a wild joy of realization. The fixing of his attention on his objective was his command to his disciplined mind to watch and remain faithful to that fixation, contemplating the joy that would be his. On realizing his desire, he began the spiritual act of generation, the act of pressing out the mystical seed, his defined desire. In this fixation, he remained, claiming and feeling himself to be that which he desired to be, until his whole being was bathed in an oily sweat resembling blood. In short, until his whole consciousness was permeated with the living, sustained joy of being his defined objective. As this fixation is accomplished, so that the mystic knows by his feeling of joy that he has passed from his former conscious state into his present consciousness. The Passover or crucifixion is attained. This crucifixion or fixation of the new conscious claim is followed by the Sabbath, a time of rest. There is always an interval of time between the impression and expression, between the conscious claim and its embodiment. This interval is called the Sabbath, the period of rest or non-effort, the day of entombment. To walk unmoved in the consciousness of being or possessing a certain state is to keep the Sabbath. The story of the crucifixion beautifully expresses this mystical stillness or rest. We are told that after Jesus cried out, "It is finished," he was placed in a tomb. There he remained for the entire Sabbath. When the new state or consciousness is appropriated, so you feel by this appropriation fixed and secure in the knowledge that it is finished, then you too will cry out, "It is finished," and will enter the tomb or Sabbath, an interval of time in which you will walk unmoved in the conviction that your new consciousness must be resurrected, made visible. Easter, the day of resurrection, falls on the first Sunday after the full moon in Aries. The mystical reason for this is simple. A defined area will not precipitate itself in the form of rain until this area reaches the point of saturation. Just so the state in which you dwell will not express itself until the whole is permeated with the consciousness that it is so. It is finished. Your defined objective is the imaginary state, just as the equator is the imaginary line across which the sun must pass to mark the beginning of spring. This state, like the moon, has no light or light of itself, but will reflect the light of consciousness or sun. I am the light of the world. I am the resurrection and the life. As Easter is determined by the full moon in Aries, so too is the resurrection of your conscious claim determined by the full consciousness of your claim, by actually living as this new conception. Most men fail to resurrect their objectives because they fail to remain faithful to their newly defined state until this fullness is attained. If men would bear in mind the fact that there can be no Easter or day of resurrection until after the full moon, he would realize that the state into which he has consciously passed will be expressed or resurrected only after he has remained within the state of being his defined objective until his whole self thrills with the feeling of actually being his conscious claim. In consciously living in this state of being, and only in this way will man ever resurrect or realize his desire. A formula for victory. Every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon, that have I given unto you. The majority of people are familiar with the story of Joshua capturing the city of Jericho. What they do not know is that this story is the perfect formula for victory under any circumstances and against all odds. It is recorded that Joshua was armed only with the knowledge that every place that the sole of his foot should tread upon would be given to him. That he desired to capture or tread upon the city of Jericho, but found the walls separating him from the city impassable. It seemed physically impossible for Joshua to get beyond these massive walls and stand upon the city of Jericho. Yet he was driven by the knowledge of the promise that regardless of the barriers and obstacles separating him from his desire, if he could but stand upon the city, it would be given to him. The book of Joshua further records that instead of fighting this giant problem of the wall, Joshua employed the services of the harlot, Rahab.